Good morning, You Can Heal family. It's getting close to Thanksgiving Day. Now, for some of you, you might not be looking forward to that day because along with it comes memories or pain or, wishing that you were going to have the opportunity to share a holiday with someone, or maybe you have to share a holiday with someone. So I just want us to keep our focus this week, right, on what we are truly thankful for, and remind ourselves to tell ourselves that regularly. And these are things we know to do, but sometimes just having accountability and that support. So maybe we'll put in the chat this week one thing we're thankful for. I know I'm thankful for my children. Blessing surprised me and came home Friday night, as you know. I got to see my grandson Phoenix today. He's getting dedicated this Sunday after Thanksgiving, so we went shopping for a little outfit for him. And I remember years and years ago, I was in so much pain because I wanted this relationship with my brother and sister, my younger brother and sister from my dad's second marriage. And I would always be so sad about not having the relationship that I thought I needed. And I remember my mom saying to me, you're always focusing on the relationships you don't have or that aren't what you want them to be. Why don't you focus on the family members that are in your life and you do have healthy relationships with, and be thankful for those. So maybe that's something we can do this week. If you're experiencing missing someone or something like that, focus on what we do have, not what we don't have this week. Amen. So that's just a little something I wanted to share. And sometimes it can be hard to dig out some things, but if you get to a point and you're like, what can I be thankful for in this moment? Say simple things like, I have running water. I'm thankful that I have socks to wear on my feet. Very basic things. And before you know it, you've got a whole list of simple things that you can be thankful for, and those add up and are meaningful. Okay. So with that being said, we are also reading our Bible, and we are in 2 Corinthians in the Old Testament, chapter 33 this morning. So let's do it. Now also, I'm going to find a time this morning, I think, hopefully, I'm putting it out there, so I'm going to do it, hopefully before 8 o'clock. So maybe, I don't know, sometime I'm going to record a video or go live today, because the message from church yesterday was so good and I have to share it. I'm going to have to show my face on this here camera and talk about the message that the pastor spoke. It was just so good. So look for my face sometime later today. So now that I put it out there, you guys know me. I'm going to follow through. I really will. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and look at 2 Chronicles Chapter 33, the reign of Manasseh. Manasseh was 12 years old, when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 55 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, imitating the detestable practices of the pagan nations whom the Lord had driven from the land ahead of the Israelites. Now remember, Manasseh was Hezekiah's son, and Hezekiah did everything right. He loved the Lord. So that goes to show, just because Hezekiah had a relationship, or your parents have a relationship with Christ, you've got to have your own, because it's not like King Hezekiah's, love for the Lord trickled down onto his son. No, Manasseh looks like he's up to no good, right? And we heard about this when we read 2 Kings 21, the reference here says. So your relationship with Jesus has to be your own. You can't ride on the coattails of parents or your grandmother's prayers, right, or anything like that. You've got to have your own personal relationship, and that's what you want anyways. You want that. You want to build that with Jesus. So Going on in verse 3, it says, he rebuilt the pagan shrines his father Hezekiah had destroyed. He constructed altars for the images of Baal, and he set up Asherah poles. He also bowed before all the stars of heaven and worshipped them. He even built pagan altars in the temple of the Lord, the place where the Lord had said his name should be honored forever. Oh, that is scandalous. Pagan altars right in the temple. Verse 5 says, he put these altars for the stars of heaven in both courtyards of the Lord's temple. Manasseh even sacrificed his own sons in the fire in the valley of the son of Hinnom. He practiced sorcery, divination, and witchcraft, and he consulted with mediums and psychics. Okay, so for those of you who like to read your horoscope and have your palm read and all this stuff, I can't tell you what to do, but right here, it's looking like that's not such a good thing. Because it said earlier he didn't, follow the Lord's ways. And Manasseh is dealing with sorcery, witchcraft, psychics, and mediums. So please beware if you're fooling around with any of those things. And it says here, he did much that was evil in the Lord's sight, arousing his anger. So right there, it's telling you, mediums and psychics and sorcery, that kind of thing, is evil in the Lord's sight. That was 2 Chronicles Chapter 33, verse 6. Okay, so look that up for yourself. Now, verse 7 says, Manasseh even took a carved idol he had made and set it up in God's temple, the very place where God had told David and his son Solomon, my name will be honored here forever in this temple and in Jerusalem, the city I have chosen from among all the other tribes of Israel. If the Israelites will obey my commands, all the instructions, laws, and regulations given through Moses, I will not send them into exile from this land that I gave their ancestors. But Manasseh led the people of Judah and Jerusalem to do even more evil than the pagan nations whom the Lord had destroyed when the Israelites entered the land. The Lord spoke to Manasseh and his people, but they ignored all his warnings. So the Lord sent the Assyrian armies, and they took Manasseh prisoner. They put a ring through his nose and bound him in bronze chains and led him away to Babylon. But while in deep distress, Manasseh sought the Lord his God and cried out humbly to the God of his ancestors. Oh, that's interesting. Isn't it just like a man, when you're in trouble, then everybody's crying out to the Lord. It says in verse 13, and when he prayed, the Lord listened to him and was moved by his request for help. So the Lord let Manasseh return to Jerusalem and to his kingdom. Manasseh had finally realized that the Lord alone is God, and there's an exclamation point after God. Now remember, we just read in the beginning that he was bringing pagan altars in the temple. He was dealing with sorcery and witchcraft, and God is like, yo, you're forgiven. So listen, nothing is impossible, right? Turn to God. It's never too late. He's going to be there. He wants you to come to him. And no matter how much you've messed up or done things that aren't pleasing to him, or you're disappointed with yourself or someone else, there's forgiveness. We just have to ask God for it, and he's there. Verse 14, it was after this that Manasseh rebuilt the outer wall of the city of David from the west of Gihon Spring in the Kidron Valley to the Fish Gate, and continuing around the hill of Ophel, where it was built very high. And he stationed his military officers in all the fortified cities of Judah. Manasseh also removed the foreign gods from the hills and the idol from the Lord's temple. He tore down all the old altars he had built on the hill where the temple stood, and all the altars that were in Jerusalem, and he dumped them outside the city. And then he restored the altar of the Lord and sacrificed peace offering and thanksgiving offerings on it. He also encouraged the people of Judah to worship the Lord, the God of Israel. However, the people still sacrificed at the pagan shrines, but only to the Lord their God. The rest of the events of Manasseh's reign, his prayer to God, and the words of the seers spoke to him in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel, are recorded in the book of the kings of Israel. Manasseh's prayer, the account of the way God answered him, and an account of all his sins and unfaithfulness are recorded in the record of the seers. It includes a list of the locations where he built pagan shrines and set up Asherah poles and idols before he repented. When Manasseh died, he was buried at his place. Then his son Amon became the next king. Amon was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 2 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, just as his father Manasseh had done. He worshipped and sacrificed to all the idols his father had made. But unlike his father, he did not humble himself before the Lord. Instead, Amon sinned even more. At last, Amon's own officials plotted against him and assassinated him in his palace. But the people of the land killed all those who had conspired against King Amon, and they made his son Josiah the next king. My goodness, those own people took him out. But there was something interesting up between verses 14 and 17 where, after the Lord heard his request and essentially forgave him, the king had to do something. So we ask for forgiveness, then we have to get about our Father's business, right? So he rebuilt the temple and, removed all those altars he built inside the temple and restored things. So, after we do confess our sins and God forgives us, there's a restoration that's going to take place. He's going to build us back up. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing here when I read those verses. So, God's a healing God. He really is. He will take the pain and all the things that have happened in your past, and he will do a new thing. Trust me, I know. He has in my life, and I thank him. I thank him for it. So hold on to that today. Know that I love you. I'm thankful that you're listening, and we'll be back tomorrow. Look for me at some time today, honestly, because I read the night before, so I've got to get this message to you guys. Always remember, true healing begins with self-love. Why? Because God is love, and he lives on the inside of you. Be thankful. Hey, don't forget to leave in the comments one thing you're thankful for, and we'll do that all week. All right, love ya. We'll talk soon. Bye.